Hello, everybody. This week I have Jay with us. I'm very excited to share with you more about his business and also who he is as a person and what he's up to. With that said, Jay, I want to give you a big warm welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Let's just kick it off with a one word open. So, what was that one word you could use, or what is that one word you could use right now to share with us how you're feeling in this moment?
Elated. Elated. Elated is definitely the word. Like after, years of just grinding and trying to get, my company off to a good start, things are finally, gaining traction for us. We're on the precipice of really great things. And I'm just elated, right? It's like that marathon runner. You're at the end of the run and you hit that wall and you broke through that wall. And so now it's all just good things, baby. It's all good things.
That is really awesome. Let's kick it right into business. So, if you could take 3 to 5 minutes
Yeah.
and share with our audience a little bit about your background and then how you got started in your business and where you are at today.
Yeah, sure. Jason Maaraoui, I am CEO and founder at Vire Technologies. We developed like a really cool way to verify IDs anonymously. So it's like driver's licenses, identity documents. We do it all without taking your personal info. So the nexus for creating this really started um, when I was in college. I was in college, senior at the time at NYU, and my sister, she's going to get her credit card from the bank, and she goes in. It's her first card. She goes in, and they're like, "Hey, your social and name don't match what's on your credit report." Okay. Turns out somebody had stolen her social security number as she was a child and used a fake name to create a credit report. Because she's a child, she didn't have a credit report. So now forever in the banking system, her social is now associated with some other person's name. So then I got really like savvy to fraud, researched it, learned a lot about it, trying to help my sister. Uh, and then a few years later, I start researching the market, and that's where I get into it, man. I start building a technology that I think would solve a lot of the pain points that I saw in the market: privacy, speed, uh, cost, and private and catch rate. So those were the big things that were kind of holding back the market, and we tried to create a solution that addressed all of those. So, and here we are today.
Awesome. And who's your typical client right now?
So, uh, our typical client is going to be like retail at the moment. So it's a strategic choice. We've pitched to the big companies. There's interest out there, right? The big problem is when you're selling a security product that has some new technology in it. You're going to have skeptics, right? I mean, it's not skeptics about you and your product. I mean, if you're selling a compliance product, it's got to be compliant. So part of that comes kind of full circle where they say, hey, I'll give you an example. Las Vegas Police Department. They said, oh, this is a great idea. If it does what you say it does, we'd absolutely want to be a customer. But first, you need to show us that it works at a smaller police department, right? So there has to be kind of like a chain. So you can't just jump right to the top. Unfortunately, our solution does have great applications in retail. So right now, our client, our first client is called Cappies. They're a liquor store chain out of Boston. And so they have like a lot of tight regulations on running afoul of the liquor distribution in Boston. And they're a medium-sized store, so they're really feeling, the pandemic where they have to start doing deliveries, curbside pickup. So they're trying to go there, but they're not trying to fully go into Drizzly. They want to kind of internalize that process. So that's where Vire really comes and helps them verify IDs quickly on the spot. We're basically bringing bank grade verification down to a retail product, and it's fast, it's instant, it's cost effective, works in a mobile app, and it's anonymous. And so value prop is really strong. And that's our main customer right now. And eventually we're going to leverage that into bigger customers. So that'll be your governments, your enterprises, um, all of that stuff.
Awesome, Jay. So I know you just kind of talked about a little bit of a win right there, which actually a big win, but is there any other wins that you've experienced internally recently in your company that you'd like to share with people? And more importantly, what was your takeaway from that win?
Uh, yeah. There was a huge win that we had in partnership with our sister company. It's called Horse Foster Inc. That they're doing a contactless payment solution called Bestow. You tap another phone, you can pay them without like switching personal details. So like if I Venmo you, you need to know, hey, what's your Venmo handle? None of that. I just tap your phone, you get like an app clips pops up that tells you, hey, you got $10, download the app. It's really simple, elegant. So we've actually combined our value props together for a specific vertical, and that's the enterprise fintech. And we're actually having a lot of success with it. It's very simple. So Jack, who's the CEO of that company, Bestow, he is pitching his solution to like credit unions, smaller regional banks, where their customers, member customers, could tap each other, paid. But what happens if they're not a member customer? So you tap each other and payment would normally fail. I said, no, instead, we could funnel them to become a client of the member bank or download your app. And then once they download the app, they would have to get onboarded. And that's where Vire would come in. We would streamline the onboarding process. And so together we came up with a really compelling, we call it a viral value proposition. The viral nature is in Jack's product where you could tap somebody who's not part of the network and they quickly get invited in. And then my solution continues the second step, which is onboarding them and staying compliant. And so together, it's been a huge win for us. It's one of those like no brainer. Of course, you're going to want this, right? And we're really excited about that. And it's been a win figuring that out and coming together to produce this really cool product.
Sounds really exciting. Let's talk about failure. So, what does failure mean to Jay, real quickly? And then, what's a recent failure that you've encountered, and what was your takeaway from that?
Yeah. Failure for me is when you have a strategic goal that you've been like aiming for a period of time and not making it. And as a first time founder, a lot of times you realize that you've failed a little too late, and you need to fail quicker, right? You need to shorten the increments for a deliverable and fail more rapidly. And so about a year before the pandemic, so 2 years ago, we had a big conference. We're actually going to this conference this year on the 20th to the 30th. It's called the Nightclub and Bar Show. So that's a separate product we're doing. We were supposed to go 2 years ago. So we had developed in a MVP style framework, right? A really small, product. It was a web-based product on a mobile app. So we're developing, and the product kind of got too big for its britches. It was doing too much for that framework. It had to be a native, which is like a totally different code base. And so the conference is in May. We're trucking along, trying to get this deadline done. There's bugs everywhere, and then we keep throwing money at it. We think, hey, more devs can solve this problem. Let's keep throwing money at this. We'll get to this deadline, and we ended up spending a lot of money, in the low six figures, just to get this product ready. Early May rolls along, and I realized, hey, I could spend another 100K on this, probably not going to work, or I could go to this conference with a half-baked product and, come out looking bad, or I could cut my losses, go back to the drawing board, take what we've learned and start from scratch, but like really focus on a smaller increment, deliver the product like Russian nesting dolls, right? You got the small piece and then you put the big piece on top and then the next big piece. Yeah, that's what we need to do. We can't just go for the full beautiful sculpture on day one. We need to focus on what the customer needs and get a product out there as quickly as possible. So that was a failure that costed us a lot of money. So we've learned from it now where, actually being broke helps the company, right? I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but being really, really tight on money, you start thinking a different way. And I don't want to lose this thinking, right? It's this hunger, right? You get a deal, right? You don't take anything at face value. So you get a deal from one company and you're like, oh, this is great. If you're comfortable, you might be like, oh, that's great. Let's go replicate this whenever we feel like it or get my sale. No, now we get something, we right away we figure out, hey, what do we do with this deal? Okay, yes, it's money in the door, but we got to leverage this to other clients, right? We got to leverage this to other markets. We got to be disciplined, get LOIs down, LOI, letter of interest, get memorandum of understanding, get a contract signed, service level agreement, get legal to look at it. You got to be super, this hygiene is really important, staying investable, staying scalable. The shift in mindset. So failure that you learn from, you find the silver lining, shift in mindset, and you start applying it, right? And that's the only way the failures. That's how you learn from failures. It's not just reflection; it's action.
That was really great. Thanks for putting it so elegantly. So I've never heard someone describe it that way. That was awesome. Um, so if you could go back in time, Jay, if you're sitting in front of your 21-year-old self, you got 30 seconds to just give one advice to yourself. What would that be?
Um, it would be to expose yourself, right? Like expose yourself to other things that you might not be comfortable with. To get out of your comfort zone, right? Um, I've been, I've lived in different places and all over the world. But when I got to college, like I really didn't know myself, right? And so like I thought like this assumption of me is who I'm gonna be, and I need to focus on that. But really, I should have been just like focus on art for a bit, like learn a bit, like feel like, or focus on communicating with people, right? I wasn't very sociable back then. I was kind of introverted. um, you like computer programming, learn computer programming, like expose yourself to these different disciplines, because even at that young age, you don't know what you're good at. You might think, hey, I have a trajectory, I'm doing accounting, right? But like the most successful people I've known, and this applies to myself too, is you have a big skill you're good at, but also a small skill that you're really good at. And when you combine the two, that's when you really excel. That's when you become invaluable. That's when you grow personally, professionally, and y- there's a trend I've seen. They usually succeed in life. So just finding, yeah, go to college, do your major, whatever, get that done, but like you got to really strengthen around that. You got to be a balanced individual. So that's my advice for me. It took me a little too long to figure it out, but here I am about 10 years later, so not too bad, I hope.
No, that was awesome. What's that one question that you wish people would ask you when they're interviewing you that not too many people ever ask you?
um yeah. um Basically, like asking me about the competition, about like, we're anonymous ID verification. Why is that so important in the market? I've been asked, I think one time before, and I think the problem with the current way it's done, especially like, when you're online, you're signing up to Coinbase or Airbnb, you're verifying your identity. The problem is, I mean, we're selling to businesses, but there's a consumer rights aspect to this, like an impactful, like a social impact, right? Because right now, when you're doing this stuff online, you're sending a full image of your ID to a third party. You're generally sending it to not in the U.S. It's going overseas, and somebody's manually looking at it. And there's a huge security risk with that, and you're also concentrating IDs all into one place. It's a great, hacker target. And I really wish people would know that the way things are done aren't always the best way. You don't have to wait until there's a big security lapse, or say there's no other solution out there. um, and just keep doing what you're doing. There are other ways to do stuff. Privacy, it's really a delivery model innovation, right? You're trying to do the same thing conveniently uh, without affecting privacy. And if you can do that, you have a win in my book. And I think there's a ton of innovation here in this market. Just building anything plus privacy, it's a win. Look at Signal. I mean, they're winning. They're winning in a huge amount right now, just because it's the same, maybe even less features than WhatsApp, but they have a ton of privacy, and people like that. And consumers are learning, businesses are learning, and especially with these oil pipeline attacks, like security is a big deal. So yeah, that's the thing I wish everyone kind of knew is, like, privacy is something that can be asked for and should be demanded, and it can be achieved.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. If our listeners wanted to find out more information, do you mind giving out your website address and your handles in case they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. Our website is www.vyre.com. That's BYYER.com. And then you can reach me directly, Jason, JASON, at Vyre.com. BYYER. Jason at
Awesome.
Vyre. Reach me anytime.
Awesome. And if you could sign us off with a one word close, Jay, what would that be?
Uh, Peace.
Perfect.
Stay peaceful.
Awesome. Appreciate your time, Jason. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Tony.